This meeting is
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Chapter 2 TRN Restaurant Networking Group. Thank you all for coming. We are a group of vendors to the restaurant industry who are experts in our field, and we invite restaurateurs who might view this on YouTube to contact us. If you have an issue or a problem or would like to attend the meeting, we'd like to help you. So take a look at that on our YouTube channel is Today's Restaurant. Today we have a speaker from the group, Matt. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I think we'll start with, I want to also mention officially, that our new member, Rick Moore. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome.
And Matt, whenever you're ready,
Perfect. All right. Can everyone see this?
get a little closer to the mic.
Okay. Can
I heard
everyone,
But I'm
can everyone
deaf.
see? All right. Can everyone see my screen?
No,
We can see your face.
Okay. Let's see. So I need to do how to share, or I can share my screen so that my PDF is visible to everyone.
Go down to the bottom of your screen and it should pop up with a green box that says share screen, and click on that. And then it'll ask you what screen you want to share and click on it. And then there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I see it. Okay. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
there you go.
All right. All right. So good morning, everyone. Apologize for my absence last week, but believe it or not, I actually got COVID for the second time. My symptoms were mild with the exception of a blazing headache, but I'm happy to report I'm feeling much better now and on the road to recovery. So I wish this virus would just disappear, but that's not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. So as I've introduced myself in the past, I'm an insurance risk management specialist. I'm a partner in the partnership of Optisure Risk Partners, LLC, located in South Florida and licensed to do business in all 50 states. And so my emphasis today is to really share with you a proprietary program that we developed for business owners to incorporate risk management into their decision-making process and also their buying decisions as well. In the past, I've shared with you that many business owners use what is referred to as a bid and quote approach to their insurance, and there's a lot of weaknesses in that approach. The biggest one being that you're basically just copying what you've had in the past, and there's never a point in the process that you're doing a due diligence or reviewing what you currently have to make sure that your insurance program does what it needs to do so that you can sleep soundly at night. So our risk management or managed exposure program incorporates the steps of risk management. And while risk management may sound like a complex term, it begins with really the identification of risk. So we sit down with business owners, C-suite individuals, and we go through an audit process to help them identify their exposures to loss. So what situations could result in a financial loss to the operation, whether it be a loss of physical assets, it could be an interruption of their business that would impact their flow of revenue and profit. And so we get into a rather deep dive to help them identify their exposures and then analyze those exposures. So, what is the impact of each individual exposure to loss? Is it something that has high frequency, low severity? If we identify the exposure to have high severity, high frequency, low severity, that might be something a business owner would want to self-insure or retain that loss, since it's fairly predictable in terms of what the cost would be. And transferring that risk to an insurance company is typically a very expensive proposition. Conversely, if you have something that is maybe low frequency but high severity, that's something that you want to give a lot of consideration to in terms of transferring that risk to an insurance company in the form of a premium, and let the insurance company deal with a loss. So we go through that process, including also loss projections, depending on the enterprise's record keeping and reports. We can get into some detailed projections. And then we move on to risk control, which really is when, after we identify certain exposures, is it something that can be avoided? If it can be, and it has high severity, it's probably something you want to give consideration to, given its overall impact to the financial health of the operation. If the loss can't be avoided, then we look at how do we control those losses in the terms of preventing them, or if a loss should happen, how do we reduce the overall impact to the organization if a loss should occur. Move on to risk financing. Talk a little bit about retention. Retention can be in two forms. It can be a passive retention strategy, or it can be a proactive. Proactive meaning, you've made a conscious decision that you're going to retain certain exposures to loss because the severity is relatively low, frequency is high, and that's something that from a financial standpoint you're willing to retain. Conversely, on the other side of this, and what really gets a lot of businesses in trouble, is when they take what I would call a passive approach, and so they're now retaining a loss that they never anticipated because their insurance program didn't provide coverage for that particular exposure, or they didn't transfer that exposure to a third party in the form of a contract or some other type of indemnity or hold harmless agreement. And then, of course, the transfer piece is really, do you transfer that to an insurance company? And so that's probably where we want to spend a little bit of time this morning. We work with many of the national insurance companies. We work with a lot of the regional companies. Even though Florida is a difficult state to write insurance in, and for our group, the folks that live in Florida, you understand what's happening right now in the homeowners market, and that marketplace is pretty much collapsing. The state had to step in last week, and under the threat of a rating bureau threatening to downgrade 17 insurance companies, the governor, the Department of Insurance, Department of Financial Services, that is, came up with a reinsurance plan so that if a company should become insolvent, there'll be a cut-through endorsement that would allow that policy to be reinsured by Citizens, and Citizens would guarantee all of the payments for that particular loss, and that meets an exception under the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac requirements. A little bit of a diversion there, but certainly a pretty significant issue going on here in the state of Florida. And after we, so getting back to the risk management approach and our managed exposure program, once we go through those 4 steps, we then finalize everything in the form of a risk management plan, which also involves continuous monitoring as businesses change. We also have to upgrade the program. So our managed exposure program is much more than just providing an insurance quote to a business. It's a much more formal process. It's more analytical, and so therefore, when we look at who is our ideal client, it really we like to focus on business owners and businesses that are willing to make time to go through this process. Okay, they're willing to put together a program that will allow them to focus on growing their business and not necessarily having to worry about whether or not their insurance and risk management program is appropriate and covers all of their exposures. So anyway, quick overview of our managed exposure program. Wanted to share that with you this morning, and thought I would just take questions from the group if you have any.
I got everybody on mute, so just if you have any questions, unmute yourself.
Well, you explained it very well.
Thank you, Terry. It's not the most exciting topic, but it is an important one, and I've been in the
It's very
business
important.
I've been in the business for 35 years, and I can't tell you how many businesses I've seen make mistakes when it comes to how they handle the insurance. Just had a meeting earlier this week with a prospect, and they're interested in having us do some due diligence. They haven't had a second opinion in over 10 years. What was interesting, so was able to get him to commit to meeting with me, but he wanted to do it 30 days prior to the renewal. His renewal's in November. He wanted to meet in October, and I just, I had to push back and just said, that's just not enough time. And so what happens is when you go through everything, you put together a submission on your behalf, because as the broker, I'm now telling your story as the business owner to the insurance company underwriters, right? And so my ability to tell a positive story and highlight all of those positive things that you're doing in terms of risk management, loss control, and all that stuff is going to have a significant impact, number one, on the interest that the insurance company underwriters show and their willingness to provide you with preferential coverage, pricing, but also give you the coverages that you need. And 30 days is just not enough time. I would tell you, depending on the size and the complexity of the account, you probably need anywhere from 60 to 90 days. And again, that's just that is a mistake that's made over and over. And I'm sympathetic to these folks, because in many cases, small to mid-sized businesses, the insurance is usually handled either by, most likely it's their CFO, right, who has a million other things to do. Insurance is just one other requirement that they have to do, and they've been conditioned and trained to say, okay, I'm just going to look at this 30 days prior to the renewal and seek some bids and quotes, and that's where I see so many mistakes made, and insurance risk management programs just not doing what they need to do for the business.
Good morning, Matt. This is Bruce Silver.
Bruce.
I for one appreciated your presentation, although I've been doing this for 35 years myself, and when you start to talk insurance to any business owner, their eyes usually glaze over. So
Yeah.
I get what you're trying to say, but you made some great points. And one of the issues that I run into all the time is business owners will say, well, here's what I've got. Quote me, the same thing that I have already. And nobody's taken the time to tell them that they've got the wrong stuff to begin with.
Right.
They've got the wrong programs, and they really need to be looking in a different direction and doing things differently. And I not only get that from the client, but I also get it from the providers that I work with, saying, well, send me what they have and we'll quote against what they already have. And I'm going, well, guys, that's not the way I work. I believe I bring an added value to my clients and to the process. And the second point that you made is we're the eyes and ears for the underwriters out there who ultimately make all of the decisions. And if you can't get the cooperation from your client so that you can paint the very best picture without lying, because they catch you lying, you might as well call it a day with that company. And insurance is really important. And quite frankly, I closed on my house on Tuesday. It was actually Monday, but I didn't get the money until Tuesday. And the issue that put me over the edge, because I really loved my house and it was making a lot of money for me, was I got hit with a $15,000 homeowners renewal. And I just said, you know what? I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Pardon my French. Yeah. And since then, it's gotten worse, much worse.
Yeah.
So, I just consider myself lucky.
Yeah. Sorry, Bruce, I would tell you more and more people are making that decision. Again, had a meeting yesterday with a restaurant consultant that may actually, it's still very early yet, but in our discussion, we talked a little bit about the workers' compensation, and then he was explaining the PEO model, but he wasn't aware that it was a PEO. Anyway, it could be an opportunity for me to introduce you to this.
Welcome to my world. They've been doing this stuff for almost 40 years, and most people still don't know what the hell they do. And they certainly don't know what it's called. So it's amazing. And there are some public companies that have spent millions of dollars advertising. And I'm in the business, and I'm looking at these commercials, and I'm going, well, what the hell do you do? What's the story you're trying to tell? It's amazing to me.
Here's a question for you. If anybody in the insurance business, what is an underwriter? Are there 5 guys sitting in a room waiting for the applications to come in, and they are in my entire life, I've never met an underwriter. So it's kind of ethereal. I don't know who they are, what they are.
They're behind the scenes. And
you'll never meet an underwriter.
You have to remember, when you start talking about insurance, you talk about the law of large numbers. Okay, that's insurance. So the underwriters basically are the ones that are going to say yes or no that the insurance company is going to accept the risk.
Yeah, I get that.
That's their job. Yeah. And they open up the books. In health insurance, they open up your whole entire medical file. When in a prospective insured wants to get insurance, when they sign their name, they're giving them permission for the underwriters to open up their whole entire medical book. Okay, and that's all they do, and they review. If somebody is taking a medication for HIV, some insurance companies are going to say, absolutely not. I'm not going to take the risk. Some insurance companies will. It's just a higher rate. Okay, you don't have to accept it, but that's all an underwriter does. Now, I'm a part of an association called the National Association of Health Underwriters. Back in the day, when you had Medicare supplements, no Medicare Advantage plan, the insurance producer, myself, was the underwriter. We wrote down all the information and submitted it to the insurance company as an instant yes or no. But we don't do underwriting anymore because it's a simple click on the computer. Okay. And so the underwriters, like you said, they're kind of a thing of the past. They really are. They're just, you just hear the word underwriting because that's the power that be. That's what I understand it to be.
Well, that's true in the small group market in health insurance, but what Matt deals with, what I deal with, we still have to deal with underwriters, and I've sent more than one a thank you note and a gift certificate, which I'm not even sure if that's legal, but anyway.
But to Bruce's point, though,
that should have been in the early part of the meeting.
Yeah,
Jump in here
the
real quick.
relationship that we have with our underwriters is so critical. And so telling a accurate story, good and bad, right, will allow you to really create a trusting relationship with that underwriter. And just because something may not be totally favorable with a risk doesn't mean the underwriter is going to decline writing it. They may say, okay, because of this, we're going to charge more money.
Right.
Or maybe charge more money and then maybe charge a higher deductible or limit coverage somewhere. So, often I get responses from prospects. Well, no one's ever asked me that question before, as if I'm doing something wrong. And depending on, where we are in the prospecting process and the relationship and I have with the individual and where I think it's going, sometimes I'll be somewhat provocative in my response to that. But I said, is that a bad thing? Because an underwriter is going to be able to more accurately assess a risk with more information. Now, conversely, I don't have to share with an underwriter anything that he or she isn't asking for either. So it's really understanding how that whole process works. Both. So we have to sell to our clients, but our ability to sell a risk to an underwriter is so critical in terms of us having a successful outcome, in a high closing ratio.
And here's the other thing you need to consider. The underwriter is sitting at a desk and they have a file, all right? And the file, name, address, type of business, number of employees, very generic information. However, they want to know if you have a safety program. They want to know how you're operating. And unless they actually go out and do a site inspection, and quite frankly, with some clients, I've actually asked them, the companies, to send out a risk manager to take a look at their facility and to make recommendations, quite frankly, because that's what it's all about, and for this group in particular, restaurants have all sorts of risks. They have sharp instruments that people can cut themselves on. They have hot water. They have cold water. They've got fire. They've got lifting of heavy objects. There are so many areas that somebody can get hurt. And quite frankly, if you're a small business and you're spending $10,000, $20,000 a year for workers' compensation, and that's what your premium is, and then you've got some guy that picks up one of these beer barrels and pops a couple of discs, I'm going to tell you something. That is a $250,000 claim. And in the industry, we call that a shocker. And the reason that is when that underwriter opens up that file and looks at the claim, he gets a heart attack. So, that's kind of like the nature of the business. And you figure it out. If you're paying premiums of $20,000 a year and you nail the insurance carrier for a $250,000 claim, what do you think that's going to do to your rates going forward?
It's going to bring them up.
They'll still never recover the money.
Never recover the money.
Never.
No.
Well, Brian, did you have a question?
Anybody want to open up an insurance company?
To answer, to reply, talk about what Matt was saying about underwriting. So, A lot of times mine happens before the insurance, because a lot of times I do a lot of startups. Okay. So, like what Matt says, he's telling a story to the underwriter. Okay. So when I bring a deal in, we do our due diligence on our end, and then I submit it to our underwriter. So you have to have a pretty good story about what they're trying to accomplish, what they're doing, what's their game plan, how long are they going to exist, especially on the restaurant side. Restaurant side is very tough. So, from being in it for, 15, 16 years, I have some good relationships with some underwriters, and they look outside the box. Sometimes underwriters just think, oh, it's a restaurant. Okay, well, they're probably not going to make it, but they don't look at the fine lines, that I write. I do a write-up. I do a very extensive write-up about, do they have history in the industry? Do they, what they're trying to do? What's their concept? Is it their franchise? Things like that. So, and I get most of my stuff approved because, you have to write up, but still, sometimes underwriters, like Bruce said, they get a file on their desk. They look at it like, ain't going to make it. They don't even bother to look beyond it's a restaurant. So, we're all, most of us here, or all of us here, work with restaurants. So, we all do different things for restaurants, but it's a challenge. And, and if you don't do a good write-up, I'm probably going to have to beg them to approve it, and sometimes underwriters will review your file, but then I point out, didn't you see what I just wrote you about this? And, oh yeah, I saw it. Okay. So sometimes they just don't always do what they're supposed to do, but yeah, that's kind of, and talking about what Matt was saying about building a story to the underwriter. So yeah.
But Brian, you nailed it. I mean, that's why relationships are so important. I mean, I work with a lot of companies, and, let's face it, there are people out there that have employees, and sometimes it's the owner themselves, that they have some serious medical conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an opportunity to sort of just not tell anybody about it and let it go through and stick it with the company that I send it to. However, I don't do that. I let my companies know that we have an issue. I still would like them to write it knowing that we have the issue. And it's because of that, every now and then, if I need a favor, it makes things happen. So if you establish a relationship and you're honest, and in the insurance game, that's not always the case, unfortunately.
And I'm always just disclose everything, because at the end of the day, knock on wood, chargebacks, you don't want to charge back, and then they call back, and then they either, wanted you to pay back your commission immediately, or they do it over a period of time. So, I'm just, I'm very cautious. And if I see something I don't like, I actually will squash it. And I'll say, this is not a good idea. Let's not move forward with this client, because I just, I see something that I didn't like. I know we're all in sales, and I wanted a sale, but I'm looking at, the future. I'm looking at 2-3 months down the road. If this guy just walks, and it's like, I don't want to owe anybody some money. So, especially in today's times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
Matt and Bruce and Steve, got a question for you relating to homeowners insurance. Then, in Florida, the rates are going absolutely crazy. And the insurance people are coming back to us saying, okay, we need more documentation on your roof construction. We're needing information about fencing, information on insulation. Is that basically the underwriting part of that, whole of that, seeing what's going on at the local level? I know part of the roof is the issue with the lawsuits going on with roof construction.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is part of the underwriting, and whether or not particular homes or the age or type of roof meets their underwriting requirements. And listen, I'm in the insurance industry, and there have been some bad actors on the insurance company side, on the homeowner side, and I think most of them are now out of business. Thank God. But you know, this issue that we're all paying for right now, right? I mean, our premiums for our homes are outrageous. You know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. But it is the abuse that's taking place right now with roofing contractors and public adjusters, and then, in my opinion, our legislators
Right.
lacking intestinal fortitude to make changes in statutes that right now allow bad actors to abuse the system, and we're all paying for it.
Well, Matt and everybody else, I'll give you my little commentary on what I think goes on in Florida. In order to get into the legislature, most people are you know, writing bills and passing laws, and then they come out and they go back to being attorneys. And they will not pass any laws that make it difficult for attorneys to make a living. And quite frankly, a lot of the issues are not only the claims for roofs that you know, I mean, if we had a hurricane 5 years ago, you know, why should you be able to put in a claim in year 6 for roof damage? It should have been caught a long time ago. And then what ends up happening is they sign over the roof to an adjuster who is now going to collect on whatever claim they put through. And the insurance company, the underwriter, says, hey, or the claims adjuster in this case says, hey, we're not going to pay this claim because it happened 6 years ago. Well, guess what? Now they get sued by the adjuster for not paying the claim that shouldn't have been shouldn't have been made in the first place. And our representatives they could have eliminated this 5 years ago or 7 years ago. This isn't new. This has been going on forever. I mean, my dad had he got a new roof for a hurricane that happened like 12 years prior.
Well,
how the hell do you do that? Really?
Yep.
And who's going to say no to a new roof? I mean, that in those days it was $20,000. I just paid $31,000 for a new roof. And with that, I got a $3,000 discount on my homeowner's insurance. Okay, so it went from 15 to 12. Thank you very much.
I will tell you, you know, Matt, you were talking about how there's scrupulous people and bad people in the insurance. You find that on the health insurance side as well, not just in the PNC. On the health side, we have TPMOs, third-party marketing organizations. 90% of them are Asian, European, they're overseas. And because there's been so many issues with seniors in the Medicare space being taken advantage of, now individual brokers, whether they have one individual or 50 agents, every single phone call from the get-go has got to be recorded and then held in a cloud for 10 years because of bad players. And if it's hitting the medical side, I think eventually it hit the PNC side.
Yeah,
I really do.
last year, the insurance company told us they came in and did an inspection on the whole house, and they made us replace our electrical panel and the water heater. Otherwise, they'd cancel our insurance.
How old is your house, Steve?
Gosh.
Built in the early 90s.
Well, you know,
That's crazy.
there's going to be a lot more of that.
They're going to do the same thing with roofs. If I didn't, and they check the windows, everything. I happen to have hurricane windows, but still, they're going to check everything. If they don't like what they see, either you fix it or too bad.
Yeah. Well, Citizens has redoubled their their budget and their plan to inspect more and more properties. So this trend is just going to continue until our legislature makes the necessary changes. There is talk on the street that after the November election, they're going to have another special session to deal with insurance.
Well, we wasted this one on going after Disney, so clearly that was more important.
Hey, let me just jump in here. I want to thank Matt very much for a great presentation and a great
pleasure.
after
Thank you.
discussion. As anybody who's watching can see, we have a great expertise in the insurance world in the group. So if you have that kind of an issue and you want to give us, want to come to the meeting or ask a question to any of our members, let me know. You can go on our website at trnusa.com or send me an email at howard@trnusa.com or call us at 561-620-8888 and I'll invite you to the meeting or direct you to the member that can help you best. So for your benefit and everybody else's, I want to do our intros. Let's do it as an elevator speech. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how we can contact you. And do it all at around a minute so that we can stop the meeting at around 10, if possible. So start with Terry. Good morning.
Morning. Today's restaurant news. I handle the monthly leads report. Howard sends out the an email blast to many of our contacts, and we have thousands and thousands, and we get people who don't even request a sample anymore. They're just ordering leads left and right, which are telling me that things are really getting desperate out there, and I'm hoping that they get better. There's so many restaurants coming in, you have no idea. If everything else fails, there's always going to be people that eat out, and I will let you know where they're coming in Florida and Georgia. We have 2 different reports. If you need a sample, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Today's restaurant news. Thank you.
Rick Israel, good morning.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for this time. Rick Israel with Affiliated Health Insurers. We are an independent brokerage firm that we assist individuals that are entering into or need assistance in the Medicare space. We work with Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage plans, prescription drug plans. This is our season of getting ready to prepare to take care of that. Just on a side note, we were discussing a little bit ago about how things are changing in the industry. The state of Florida has just passed a law that if you have a business that has the word Medicare in it, before the end of the year, you're going to be required to change your name. And if you know what it's like to get a business in the state of Florida, think about now having to change a name and starting all over again with advertising. So you may see that around a lot of companies changing names. I will be in South Florida in about a week and a half. Hope to see some of you all if I have an opportunity. Thank you for this time. I do have to disappear now for another meeting, but I look forward to seeing you all next week, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Bruce Silva, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bruce Silver. The name of my company is Employers RX, and we are the cure for your employee management headaches. We work with small and mid-sized companies to help them manage their employees. I work with companies called professional employer organizations. These are entities that have thousands and thousands of small business clients and hundreds of thousands of employees. And they do the same thing as every small business does. They process the payroll, they provide workers' compensation, benefits, 401k plans, HR compliance, risk management, workers' compensation. And if you're a small business owner and you have not looked into what a PEO can do for you, I suggest you give me a call at 561-843-4333, and we'll try and help you find out more.
Okay, thank you. Brian, good morning.
Morning, everybody. Brian with Rogue Financial Group, Rogue Leasing. We are a company that provides commercial equipment financing to primarily the hospitality, but we also do non-hospitality industries like logistics, manufacturing, what we call yellow iron, which is construction equipment, transportation. Again, keep it short. Again, Brian with Rogue Financial Group. Again, commercial equipment financing. Thanks.
Thank you. Steve Whitehill, good morning.
Morning, I'm Steve Whitehill, and I'm a business broker, and I help people buy and sell businesses. And this morning, I'd like to share a little video tune that I have, and it talks about what I do. So let me do that. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
He didn't have to say anything. That was great. He just, I'm going to do that next time.
Actually, there's I think someone said, I think here, there's a program, I think it's called Doodle.
Yeah.
And that's apparently he uses that program. It's just, I would do it, except I don't have the patience, the time, or I don't know if I don't have the idea to come
Oh,
up
that's terrific.
with the thing. Yeah.
No, it's called Doodly. It's not that hard. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, you do it for him. Come on, Bruce.
I'm trying to retire. Thank you.
That must be nice. Good for you.
All right, Ed Gordon, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Ed Gurton with Seacoast Sales in Orange Park, Florida. We're a equipment supplier that really caters to the frozen dessert industry. We represent Carpigiani, ISA, BGI, and a couple of other businesses that sell frozen drink machines. We do blast freezers, display cases. Our website is seacoastsalesflorida.com, and you can reach me at 904-334-4489. Have a good day.
Thank you. Our newest member, Rick Moore, good morning.
Morning, everybody. My name is Rick Moore. My company's BidPoint, and we do small business funding, really any size, 5,000 up to 2 million. It's revenue-based funding. There's no collateral involved, strictly based on your monthly revenue. We look back 3 months and see what that monthly average is. And typically on a monthly average, we can fund about double that monthly amount. Industries we serve, obviously the hospitality industry, but a big industry outside of that is any kind of independent contractor. So that's what we're looking at. And we do currently have agents in the Panhandle, down on the West Coast, not much on the East Coast at this point, and we cover Atlanta pretty well. So Rick Moore, and you can reach us at bidpointfunding.com.
Okay, thank you. Joe Cregan, good morning.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, everybody. Joe Cregan with Card Payment Services here in outside Fort Lauderdale in Davie, Florida. My company represents Fiserv, or First Data Payment Processing. In addition, we're also a reseller for ADP Payroll Processing and Clover POS systems. So we support about 700 merchants nationally, about 80% of them in Florida, and probably about 50-60% of them are restaurants. My website is www.cardpaymentservices.net, and my cell phone number is 954-639-1061. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Kaufman, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Chris Kaufman, Restaurant Recruiters of America. And we work on behalf of restaurant companies to find talent to help them with their human capital issues. Also, I had a situation I wanted to mention earlier about this insurance thing with the roofs. My dad gave me some good advice when I had a problem with my roof. He said, well, if it's raining, you cannot fix the roof. But if it's not raining, the roof doesn't need to be fixed. So sage advice was never spoken loud.
Well, that would be great advice if you didn't live in South Florida where it rains every day.
Man, I think you should use that on the Underwriters, you know,
I
I
like that,
appreciate that.
That's why Chris is sitting on a beach in Vidalia, Georgia.
Oh, that's very funny.
Yeah. So, but Chris Kaufman, and we're looking for all-star talent to work with all-star companies. So you can reach us at 404 All-Star, ALLSTAR. Come back to see us.
You should be on the radio, seriously.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't miss anybody, right? It's just me. All right, I'm Howard Appel, founder and publisher of today's Restaurant News, the digital newspaper and company for the food service industry. Again, if you'd like to reach us or talk to any of our members here, give us a call at 561-620-8888 and go to our website, trnusa.com.
And you put all the information in the spreadsheet for the new people so that they can reach anyone they want. Is that correct?
Absolutely, as
Okay.
we always do. Again, any restaurateur that wants to come to the meeting, please feel free to reach out and do so. Would anybody like to schedule themselves to do a presentation anytime in August? If you have the opportunity. We invited several new people to come today, and again, they are
Ghosts.
MIA.
They're
So-
trick or treating. No, they are.
I'll go
coming.
anytime,
It's just
Howard.
one guy
This is
had an
Rick Moore.
emergency. He did call us.
That
So
was it. That was the other group. But anyway,
these are
Rick Moore
valid.
volunteered.
Yeah.
Howard, Rick Moore
Yeah.
volunteered.
I'm sorry.
Rick Moore just volunteered.
Yeah. Since
Oh,
I'm new to the
great,
group, I thought I
great.
might take a swipe at that.
Good. Terrific.
Okay. Anything?
Oh, Howard, I meant to ask you.
What are the parameters, though, just so I know?
I'm sorry, Bruce. I didn't hear you.
Oh, why don't you answer Rick's question first?
I didn't hear that either.
Just what's the structure of the presentation? How much time do you, how long are we supposed to go in the presentation? What should we plan on?
Oh,
10 minutes? Is it?
10 minutes, 15 at the outside, and then it gets opened up like we did today for conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not
very
generally
open-ended.
long-winded, so
Would you like to schedule?
yeah, let's do it.
We got next week, the 19th or the 26th.
Next week.
Next week. You got it.
That was
I'm
easy.
very sorry about that because Howard has a little bit of a hearing issue. So he did not hear that the first time that you had said that. So I apologize.
Well,
No worries.
when more than one
He's-
person is talking at the same time, it's hard.
No.
So,
Well, he's got those air mufflers on.
yeah, but that, believe me, if I didn't have those on,
Hey, Terry.
forget it.
Yes.
Forget about it. All right.
Okay. I'm calling the Underwriters on you, Bruce.
You won't be the only one. I meant to ask you, you told me that you were having another PEO guy in the afternoon in the 11 o'clock meeting. Do you remember who he's with?
He hasn't showed up yet.
He hasn't showed up yet. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So, well, last week we had an issue with our phones. I don't know if you, after our meeting here, everything went down. And well, let me
People
close the
tried
meeting and
to
I'll
get
tell you what
on.
happened. So
Yeah,
thank you all for coming. And
Okay.
Have a
if you
great
wanna-
weekend,
if you
everyone.
want to
Have a
hang
good
around, we'll
weekend.
be here.
Have a good
Have a
weekend.
good
Hey,
weekend.
Thank
Steve.
you all.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Hold on.
Brian should be back in Florida. Did he reach